All right, Scott Cleary, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, dude. I'm excited to do this. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, lots of fun for sure. Before we get started, I did notice in your beautiful studio setup, you've got a couple books there
Mm,
behind you. I think one of them is Atomic Habits. The other one
yeah.
is The One Thing,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
actually,
You can see, I guess it's not too small. So, um, first of all, let's be real. There's an aesthetic to these books as well.
they're
However, I
beautiful. Yeah,
did
they
try and
are.
pick the gold and white books that I like the most. So I have James
Okay, nice.
Clear. I have Tony Robbins over there, which is one of his first books, Money Master the Game. Obviously, The One Thing. I do have a Jordan Peterson book here, The 12 Rules for Life, and though he is somewhat, I guess, to some people, a controversial figure, I do like his writings, and I also love the fact that his writings also are in a gold and white bound book, which fits the vibe of the whole shelf. What else do I have? I can't remember because I put this together a while back. I have a
No,
biography of
the vibes are
yeah,
strong, but like you
thank
said,
you.
they're your favorite books that happen to be white and
Gold.
gold themed.
Well, just to the right of me, there's a closet. So we turned. This was a guest house, so we turned into a studio. There's a closet behind these wood paneling doors, and this is where I do a lot of my interviews. And I used to have like a library, and now I don't have a library anymore. I just have like these aesthetically well placed books, and I must have 1,000 books just in boxes, like sitting right behind that wall. It's just incredible. But and a lot of them are from guests that have come on the show. A lot of them are just books that I absolutely love, and it's ironic because I don't even read physical books as much as I used to. Now it's a lot of podcasts and audibles and whatnot. The only time I ever sit and read a physical book is like when I'm on a plane, and I actually like listening to the book while reading it physically when I there's no Wi-Fi, so I really can't do anything else.
Nice.
But yeah, I don't know. It's good to read.
No, it's
I don't think that's anything insightful though.
wow. Drop the mic. I think we might just end the episode there, guys. Good to read. Now I've heard about the listening while reading thing. I think Hormozy spoke about that
Yeah,
in one of his content clips. Well, the all-knowing Hormozy. So
hmm
of course, we must try it if Hormozy says to try it. And I did try it. I gotta say, you're right. There's no other mental bandwidth for you to lose focus. Like if you're listening to something and you're reading it, like you're 100% tuned
yeah,
into that message. I could
one
definitely
hundred
see it
percent.
sticking around a little bit longer if you take that form of learning.
Well, okay, so I don't know if this is where you wanted to go. I appreciate your compliment on my bookshelf, but I'll just give one more idea, then I will actually let you take over this podcast because it's something that I've thought about a lot, and a lot of people are they're just obsessed with consuming knowledge, and they're obsessed with just like they're collecting it like fucking Pokemon cards. Like they collect as
Sure.
many books and as many ideas and as many mental models, and they'll go listen to your show, they'll go listen to my show, they'll go listen to Hermosi, they'll go read Sahil Bloom's newsletter. They'll go tap into Seth Godin's work, all incredible work. But the point is, they'll go read a million books. They'll go read Atomic Habits. They'll go. There's other cool books up here that you can't see. There's King of Capital, which is a very good book. There's the biography of Barack Obama, and there's the biography of Winston Churchill. Um, anyways, there's a lot of cool books up here. But the point is, people are obsessed with accumulating knowledge and wisdom and not acting on it. And I don't remember the stats, but it's something like when you read a book, you actually retain, even in like the best case scenario, meaning you are absolutely in flow, focused, nothing else is distracting you. You're reading it, you are highlighting it, you are writing notes down, you're listening to it. Like the best case scenario, like most people never read books like that. That would be a wild use of your time if you did that for hours every single day. It's super time consuming. But if you did that, even in the best case scenario, you retain a very small portion of the actual work that you consume, unless you immediately act on something that you've learned from that book or that podcast or that audible or that newsletter. But most people don't do that. They just accumulate. They accumulate, as Ty Lopez says, they accumulate knowledge, right? And it's all about it's all about acting on that knowledge, not just accumulating it. So I think that the answer to the question that you didn't really ask, but I think is an important point, especially for this audience, there will be a point, not right now, stay and listen to this podcast, but there will be a point where you have to stop listening and stop consuming and just start doing. And that's when you notice that all the ideas that you've consumed over your life actually impact you in a positive way, or your business, or whatever you're trying to accomplish. And I think that is one of the most important ideas, especially in the age of wisdom and insight everywhere and ideas everywhere, we get overwhelmed with it, and then we almost use the consumption of ideas. We're almost like using it as a crutch to not do the work. We're
No,
like,
I'd agree completely.
you know
Yeah,
exactly what I mean. It's like, oh,
for sure. I've done it.
I'm for sure being an entrepreneur. I've watched 25 podcasts with Hermosi this week, bro. No,
Right.
you've just watched 20. You haven't done shit. You haven't done shit yet. So I think that's a very important idea, especially for the people that would consume this kind of content. But
Yeah, I've definitely fallen into that pit myself. Like, oh,
everyone does.
I
Yeah.
need to read one more book on this. Maybe I'll take one more virtual course, and then I'll take action on this project I've been thinking about for the last 3 years. And I
Yeah.
guess that, and there's just more information, more really interesting and valuable information out there than there's ever been between amazing podcasts
Yeah.
like yours, or audiobooks, or actually pick up and read a real book. You can just tap and have any book you want on your Kindle within 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And I think it gets a little addicting, right? You're like, you collect it like Pokemon cards. But I guess
Yeah.
then what is the answer to to that problem? Is it just everything you read, make sure that you're taking one action on that book before you read the next
Yeah.
one?
I think it's as easy as that. I think the answer to this obsessive culture of wisdom and idea collection is to shorten the gap between learning the idea and executing on it. You shorten the distance between those two activities to almost as immediately as possible. So if you learn something in a book, stop reading another 100 ideas and go execute that thing in your business. Go try it. Go see if it works. Learn from it, because I can't remember who said this, but it was so wise. And I wish I could remember the person who had this thought. But basically, if you just took any of the business books out there, obviously there's some nuance to this idea, but if you took any of the business books out there and you just studied one book should be enough to most likely get you to a point where you never even thought possible, if you actually paid attention to all the wisdom and all the things that that person writes about. Even most business biographies, if you understand how they think, how they act, some of the things that they did, their ability to manage risk and take risk, their ability to stay in the game long enough, the stories are not so different. I mean, the stories that allowed an Alex Hormozi to be successful, or a Warren Buffett to be successful, or I don't know, Mark Cuban, or like, what are the things that they do? Well, they take some risk. They're self-taught individuals, and they find a way to play the game for a long enough period of time where winning almost becomes the default outcome, because they've just stayed in the game as long as they possibly can. Hermosi speaks about this. Buffett obviously is known for this historically, is just buying assets that are companies that have products that actually people want to buy, and then just holding on to those assets for a ridiculously long period of time. So I don't think the concepts and the ideas that lead somebody to become successful are that confusing or that novel. I just think that people sometimes don't really want to accept the fact that success is actually quite boring, and it's actually quite uncomplicated. And I don't know how people define success, but for this podcast, we're talking about like building a business, entrepreneur success. Um, it's actually quite boring. It's starting, taking risk, sticking with it long enough, iterating, improving, and not quitting, and finding a way to do all those things over an extended period of time. And then that's what leads to a positive outcome. And the beautiful thing is, you only have to win once, right? That's real. I mean, you can win multiple times, but for most people that are thinking about, how do I, sort of break free from the matrix, quit my job, whatever they want to do, uh, they're only thinking about the amount of money that really comes after winning once. That's what most people are actually looking for, because then they realize that um, there's no benefit for most people to have $100 million plus. It's not a normal sum of money that most people would actually know what to do with. I mean, I have friends who have exited for well over that and below that, and the second they get that check, I had a friend. Actually, I was listening to his content this morning, Aaron Spivak, and he was talking about how he sold a company. He's Canadian. I'm Canadian. He sold a company, Hush Blankets, for about $50 million. And he was talking about after his exit how he bought a house, bought a car for himself, bought a car for his mom, maybe spent like 2.5 million, and then it's like life goes back to normal. And now you
Right.
just have more stress and headache because now you have to figure out how to not fuck up the money that you just made, and who do you
Right.
trust and who do you invest with. So the point is, the entrepreneurial ideas lead to success. It's hard work, but it's not complicated work. It's really just accepting that it's not complicated work and doing the hard work for an extended period of time. And if you read most of the biographies of any historical successful business people, um, from the Waltons to even before, like the Gilded Age, entrepreneurs and whatnot, the lessons are more or less the same. It's just people don't want to do the lessons because it's hard.
For
That's
sure,
really
they'd rather move on and read a new book and look for
a
that,
100%
and just keep searching for for that magic bullet, which really does not
never
exist.
exists. Doesn't
But
exist, bro.
I do think people would get a lot more from just reading a really good book that actually impacted them two, three, four times than moving
Yeah,
on to a new book every 2 weeks. I think
thousand
all
percent. I
we'd all
agree.
get a lot more out of that, and we digest the information. It would really impact us if we'd actually see ourselves start to take action on this information,
Yes,
as
sir.
opposed to just searching for that new book of the month. What's Mel Robbins released this month? Got to read that one.
Yeah,
What's Tony Robbins got coming out? Got to read that one.
100%.
Always looking for that book that's going to fix us. I used to have this thing where I used to love collecting not books but little like notepads, like little productivity notepads was kind of like my obsession. I'm like, which one of these little productivity notepads is going to fix me and like and allow me to actually do all the stuff that I hope I'm going to do.
Yes, sir. I know exactly what you mean. Um, I actually have another issue with this. Is my last. This I swear this is my last rant, and then I will let you. I will
No,
let you
this
go.
is great. Rant on. Love it.
The reason I have so much issue with the self help and productivity space is because the premise of self help is that you are not enough as you are. And it can be in an entrepreneur perspective, or it can just be like in a personal development. I want to feel happier, I want to feel more fulfilled. The premise of these productivity tools or these self help tools, and I think they kind of are like adjacent industries, they're not so far from each other. It's like you're not enough and you got to like add on more and more and more to live the life that you want to live. So you have to add on a productivity tool, or you have to add on, I don't know, meditation, or you have to add on something. You always have to add on, add on, add on. And it ignores the fact that most people don't even understand themselves and don't even understand how they like to work or how they like to operate. They don't understand their own energy levels. They don't understand what work excites them, what work doesn't. They don't understand if their life is even architected from their own belief system, or if it's something that was sort of imposed on you by their parents. So they don't do enough internal work. And then they try and add on all of these kind of hacks to be more productive, hacks to be more efficient, hacks to be more fulfilled, because that's what the $1 billion+ self help industry is built on. And then they're wondering why none of these things work, because they don't understand how they like to operate, and they don't understand what lights them up, and they don't understand really how their energy ebbs and flows throughout the day, which I think is a bigger predicator of productivity than, focusing on an Eisenhower matrix, for example, and figuring out what's urgent and important. Because if you can get your energy dialed in and you understand that from the hours of like 9 to 12, I can hit flow state, I can get an incredible amount of work done, I shut off my distractions, and that's when my peak time is from an energy perspective. You are going to get so much more done than layering all these ideas or all these sort of widgets or all these apps or all these planners into your day, which are really just masking the core problem, which is you not understanding how you like to work. So I think that, listen, if the self-help industry or productivity industry sort of helped people understand who they are first, then I would have really no problem with it. But if you really help people understand who they are, all of a sudden the value and the benefit of your self-help book or your productivity book starts to be significantly less, because now that person knows how they can navigate life on their own terms because they really get themselves. But many people don't take the time to understand how they like to work or how they like to operate, or if what they're working on is even what they're passionate about, or if the relationship they're in is even beneficial to them or fulfilling to them. People don't pause. because we're in this, uh, uh, in 2025, we are there's so much signal and there's so much distraction and work distraction, social distraction, life distraction, and I think that more people just have to pause and look inside and see how they like to work, and that would make a huge difference in a lot of people's lives.
Yeah, I think a lot of us are just we're rowing so fast. We think if we can just
We are,
row,
dude.
if we can just row a little faster, I can just add that one widget to my home screen and just row a little
Yeah, I
faster.
know.
It's going to fix us. But the truth is, if you're not in the right boat, it don't matter how fast you're rowing.
Amen. Very
You are
well
ne-
said. I like that analogy.
you're
I
never going
like
to
that
feel.
analogy.
Thanks, brother. It's not mine, but it's a good one. If you're not in the right boat, then it's never going to feel right,
Hmm.
and you're never going to reach that maximum level of success, whatever
Amen.
that means to you. And so you touched on a little bit there on the importance of figuring out how your energy kind of naturally ebbs and flows throughout the day and kind of know
Hmm.
when those like 3 or 4 hours are when you're going to get the most out of yourself. And I'm curious for yourself, how did you figure out when those hours were? When are those hours for yourself? And what's that look like for you?
So there's a lot that goes into managing my energy. I think that for me, and there's very tangible things like what I eat or how much caffeine I consume or not consume, and there's also non-tangible things like how healthy is my relationship with my partner,
Mm-hmm.
and am I bringing that stress into my work, or is the relationship with my partner actually uplifting me and supporting me and giving me energy, and I can take more of that energy and put that into my work. So I would say that the things that I do very tactically, for me, and everybody is very different. First, I've noticed that my energy is mostly contingent on my diet and my sleep. So meaning like I get usually 7 hours of sleep per night. That's fine for me. And my diet from Monday to Friday, I like to do intermittent fasting, and I like to do low carb. And then on the weekends, I like to eat more carbs. And that's purely because I find, and I'm not a fitness expert. If somebody wants to flame me for my particular diet, that's cool. I don't give a shit. It works for me. I've tried every diet because I used to really be into sports. So I've tried every diet under the
Sure.
sun. Um, Uh, so low carb plus intermittent fasting, I find that it could be a little bit redundant because technically you're in a fasted state hormonally if you're low carb anyways. But I find that it allows me to just have like a very clear, focused. I feel like I'm cognitively sharp. I feel like my energy is level throughout the day because my glucose technically is level throughout the day. So there's no highs and lows. I don't dip around 4 o'clock. Uh, I don't feel like hungry while I'm working throughout the day. Like the food noise is gone, which is what now people are taking drugs for. Like, so for me, that diet really works out. And because I do still care about working out, like I used to play a lot of hockey, I used to be into bodybuilding, I still go to the gym a lot. Because I do care about working out, I still like to eat carbs, and they're like also delicious. And it's very hard to be like social on a low carb diet. So that's where I just do whatever I want on the weekends, and that's worked for me. And also, I notice like when I eat a high carb meal, like I feel like tired, I feel lethargic, I don't feel as on. And that would be like my sleep diet schedule, which I think is incredibly important. In terms of workout, I usually work out first thing in the morning. I find that gives me energy, but I do it early. So I'm not like interrupting my work day with a workout. So I'll go to the gym at like 6, 7 o'clock before I start calls and stuff like that. Like I
Sure.
feel like that actually gives me energy. Um, I don't kill myself in the gym. I'm not doing like 2 hours of cardio. I'll lift and I'll do a little bit of cardio, and then my peak work hours are in the morning, usually from 9 to 12, 9 to 12:30. I'll try and push my calls to the afternoon. In the morning, I'm trying to do podcasts. I'm trying to do my creative writing. I'm trying to do things that, um, especially because it's right after the gym, I feel like I'm a little bit more creative. I'm very creative in the gym. Ideas just come to me. I assume that that's what most people feel when they meditate. It's putting yourself in this space where you're not focused on anything but what you're doing, and then all of a sudden your brain starts thinking of all these solutions to all the problems that are going on in your life. And that sort of carries over into like the work that I do, which is important because for a living I create content. So it's very important to be creative and to be focused and to not be stressed or have anxiety about other things. Like it's really good to be in flow when you're trying to create good content. And then in the afternoon is sort of where I take my calls or do things that are not as important. Not that I'm not that I am less aware or less focused. Your energy, of course, throughout the day starts to decline. But for me, I'm just, I want to do the things that are not like sort of cognitively taxing creative tasks when my energy is starting to wane. And that
Sure.
would be the calls that I mean, like I can have a call about, how's this project going? Like, who are we posting on the podcast later this week? These are not like very difficult things. If it's an important call, fine, I'll do it a little bit earlier. And this is again, perfect scenario. Everybody who talks about their routine is always like perfect scenario. I'm sure like half of my life does not work out like this. However, this is what I like my life to look like.
Got it.
Um,
Got it.
Other things that are important to me, I don't do. I know there's a lot of focus on like cold plunge and red lights. For me, listen, I've been in the health and fitness game for a lot longer than most of the people that jumped on this cold plunge, red light sauna, whatever it is train. And I think that the two most important factors, and they are the two most important factors in living a long life and living a healthy life, is whether or not you can lift weights. And lift weights means like you should not be killing yourself trying to do like one rep maxes, but you should be doing deadlift, squat, bench, just as a compound movement, not to hurt yourself. And then the other indicator of whether or not you're literally going to live longer outside of lifting weights is your VO2 max. These are the two indicators. It's not how much time you spend in a sauna. It's not how much time you spend in the cold plunge. These are great things. But I think that if I was going to tell somebody the two things that are the most important to live a long life, it'd be your diet and VO2 max and weightlifting. That is what actually matters. That's what I focus on. I don't do all the other fun little health things that seem to be very trendy. Other things that are important for managing my energy would be relationships, business, peer, friends, and romantic. I am very quick to cut people out of my life. That if you for a second just go through this exercise with me. Imagine somebody in your life calls you, and if even for a second you feel like, fuck, I don't want to talk to them, or you feel like anxiety, or you just feel like seeing that person's name pops up on your phone, it just gives you this sense of dread. That person should not be in your life. Cut that person out of your life. I don't care how you do it, but that is not like that is taking mental bandwidth and energy away from things that actually do matter. It is easier said than done, for sure. I get it. Uh, but if that person actually, if you actually have a negative reaction, your body knows, man. Your body always knows. If you have a negative reaction to when you see that person's name pop up on your phone, that person in their current state cannot be in your life. Now, maybe you can fix the relationship, whatever. I'm not talking about people that aren't like, you know, business partners moving your business forwards. Like, I mean, when my mom calls, it's not like it's going to impact my business, but it's not going to like, close me another deal. But I mean, like I love my mom, right? So I don't mind. But those people that are not moving your business forward doesn't mean that they're all negative. But understand that if there is a negative feeling towards that person calling, you should get that person out of your life, or you should sort of review your relationship with them. That goes for sort of friends and business contacts. For I think one of the most important things that helps you manage your energy in your business is your romantic relationship. So who are you dating? Who are you married to? Um, because if you are, this is also why I hate the term work life balance, because there is no balance. It's always harmony. It's harmony between work and life. If you think that, you put 9 hours, 10 hours into your job and you just drain all of your energy, and then at 6 o'clock you're going to go home and get a new tank of energy for your partner. That's not true. And vice versa. If you fight with your partner all night and that drains your energy, you're not going to show up the same way in the morning for work, right? So I think that having a healthy relationship, having a relationship that energizes you, having a relationship with somebody who you can communicate with and supports your goals is one of the most important business hacks. Because that, if you do not have that, and every single time you go home you're arguing and fighting, Dude, it is one of the two are going to go. Either your business is going to stall or not progress as fast, or your relationship is going to stall or and not even be there anymore. But if you carry toxicity from one to the other, it's never a good situation, and it does in like really impact your energy. So in terms of all the things that impact my energy and allow me to work my best, have a great home life, have a great circle of peers, friends, business, otherwise, and then manage my diet, my sleep, and then my calendar. And I would say that's how I optimize my life, at least.
Nice, yeah, and I think there's a lot of truth to everything that you said there, and I think especially interesting was the thing that you said about people in your life, and if someone calls you and you've kind of got that negative feeling in your chest, then
Yeah,
that might be a decent indicator that maybe that's someone that's not serving you and your best outcomes and
for
your best
sure, dude.
experience. Get
Yeah.
curious though, as someone
Mhm.
who's obviously a very ambitious person with big goals that he's got in mind for himself. Do you have close friends in your life that don't share a similar level of ambition?
That's a good question. I don't think so. I don't think so. I and I didn't really get rid of these people on purpose. I my ambition. I grew up in Toronto. Well, I grew up in Toronto, then Ottawa, back to Toronto for university. I'm Canadian. Um, most of my friends growing up were split between those two cities, and through my ambition to sort of push my career forward, it either took so much time that you know I don't drink a lot now. I don't go out a lot. I'll have a drink here and there, but I'm not like party. Like it took so much time and energy that I sort of like stopped going out and drinking with people that were, shutting off at 5 and getting drunk, like really drunk on a weekend, which is like what I used to do. And then I realized that this is not, like, I can go one of two ways, right? Like if I get super shit faced, now my hangovers are hanging like lasting 2 days. And it's not really conducive to thinking clearly. It's not conducive to having a great interview. It's not conducive to writing. It's not conducive to anything productive, really. Great relationship, for sure not. So I just naturally stopped spending as much time with people that you know were more focused on partying and fun than pursuing their own goals. Now, I have a lot of friends that I wouldn't say that they're not ambitious, but for example, I have a lot of friends that are married, that have kids, that have quote unquote regular jobs, which is fine. I have those friends, but I would still say that it's not ambition that is the barometer of who my friends are. It's more alignment with lifestyle. So I have friends that are doctors, and I have friends that are married with kids. I have friends that, yeah, they don't work as much, but they don't party either. So it's more like I'm more aligned with their lifestyle, and that to me is important because uh, I actually like friends who have a little bit more balance because it shows me what I should be aiming towards when I do have my own family. So it is important to have that person in your life as well. I would say that just because of what I do for a living, and the people that I spend a lot of time with, most of my friends are entrepreneurial. But like I said, not all of them, but most of them are. Um, and I think it's easier to have those friends. Even like I said, they're not all entrepreneurs, but it's easier to have those friends because you have a lot more in common to speak about. Because the things that you do day in day out, I mean, who else would you ask for advice from if not your friends? Like that's kind of why they're there, and vice versa. So it just makes being friends with them a lot easier because when you go for dinner or you spend time with them, grab a coffee, you're kind of talking the same language. So it's kind of like a self-selection. Not it's I never did it so purposefully. It was a selection based on like the life that I was moving towards and the life that I wanted to live, that kind of selected the people that stayed around, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I think similar to you, I've certainly got plenty of friends that are, living more of like a 9 to 5 corporate lifestyle, and they're certainly ambitious as well. And I'll always take something from every one of my friends. I always try and
Yeah.
just surround myself with people that I can learn from, even if it's not someone that's necessarily trying to conquer the world. Maybe they're just an amazing parent, and every time I spend time with
Mm,
them, I kind of pick something up about the way that they father their children, or
yeah.
maybe they just have an incredible just twinkle in their eye and just like a lust for adventure, and I take a little bit of that with me every time we hang out. So whoever I surround myself with, even if they're not trying to take over the world or generate millions of
Yeah.
dollars in revenue, I just try and surround myself with people that I can learn things from in different areas of life.
Well, I do believe you can learn something from everyone. I think that, by the way, this is a really good question. I've really thought about this before, and I'm sort of unpacking who my friends are. I'm just thinking through all of them in my head as you asked me. I'm realizing that the friends that I have now, they are like just in alignment with some, like whatever that core value is. 'Cause I have a few different values that I hold to be true. Like I do believe in family. I do believe in raising a beautiful family, having kids. I do believe in hard work. I do believe in um, I do believe in ambition, and if you want to, like, go for it, build it, conquer the world. That stuff is all very important to me. But it could be one of those two things. It could be usually like building a family, building a home, or conquering your professional life. But those are kind of the two values that I think are most represented in my friend groups, because I think those are the two things that are most important to me. Um, and I think that that's, I mean, what are friends? They're people that are sort of mirroring what you value in life to a degree. I mean, that's how you find something in common with them. So, yeah, I think that's very wise, and you can learn something from everyone. I could listen. I don't want to make it sound like I hate people because they go out and party. I could learn a lot from those people as well. It's just sometimes, sometimes when people are living that kind of lifestyle, it is so incongruent with how you want to live that it can actually derail and what's the best way to say this? It can compromise your own values by spending too much time around that person. Spending time around a person who's a beautiful family who works a 9 to 5 corporate job, that's not compromising anything. In fact, I'm learning, and I'm actually very grateful for those people, because that's the life I want to have. So I do need to learn from them. But having somebody who's getting shit faced and very single and going out all the time, for me, that doesn't benefit, doesn't help me. If anything, it can hurt me. Um, and I mean, it is what it is. I at the end of the day, you kind of have to be selfish, because if you are committed to certain things, that's what you should live, and that's what you should focus on. Um, if you have single friends and you're married and you're going out with your single friends all the time and you're getting drunk, it's not like there's a chance that that's not going to help your relationship. There's a chance it's not going to help your business goals. So I mean, in my mind, why risk it? It's just
Yeah,
not worth it.
I
But
agree. I think the more you can turn down those late nights, the
yeah,
more you'll be able to turn up your relationships. The
but
more you'll be
also
able to
there are
turn up
people,
your
a
business.
1000%. And but there's also some of those people that I have been close with for a long period of time who are still single and party, and I don't cut them out of my life. They're not like I don't like feel like that test that I just told you to go through. I don't feel like um, I don't get apprehension when they call, but I will make sure that if we're spending time together, it's like coffee in the morning.
Right.
Like that's when we can catch up, right? And
Right.
there are some people that I do love, friends that have been around, and you talk to them every 2 years, and it feels like no time's passed, and it feels like you're still just as tight. But it's you don't spend every week with those people. Maybe you see them once every 6 months. Maybe you see them once every 3 months. I don't know what your cadence is, but it's not like they are a regular part of your life. They're not constantly influencing your behavior. They're not constantly, um, you're not going out with them every single weekend. I think that that's important too. So that's a loaded question, because there's so much nuance to the relationships you should keep. But I know it's cliche, but you are the average of the people you spend time with.
For
I believe
sure.
that to be true for sure, and I barely have enough time in the day as it is. In all
Right.
seriousness, I'm sure you feel that way too sometimes, and it's going to be even. It's going to be even. I'm going to have a even stricter filter when I have kids, because now there's even less hours in a day for bullshit.
For
So
sure.
That's the way that I look at it.
For sure. Yeah, I think every time you get face to face or voice to voice with someone and you interact with them on a really humane level, you take a little bit of that person with you from that
You do.
interaction. You take that 1%, that 0.5% with you. And I think that's why, for instance, when I do an interview on my show and I talk to people like you, I usually walk out of these interviews really feeling good. Like I want to do more with my day, or I have a mastermind that I meet with once a month, and they're all, just really go-getting entrepreneurs. They're really
Yeah.
trying to do big things and maximize their impact in this life. And I walk out of those meetings like a house on fire. Like I'm like, ah,
100%.
like I want to get stuff done. So I think there is definitely also value to getting face to face and voice to voice with
Yeah.
people
Oh,
that are trying
by
to
the way,
do
there's
big
always
things.
energy exchange in everything that you do, and you got to be very, very aware of that. You got to be very aware of that. And if people are like, Scott, you're full of shit, okay, fine. Go tell me what your single friend. If you say you're married and you're building a business, go spend a dinner with your single friends that still go out every weekend, and like 60% of what they talk about is like who they're trying to go sleep with. I know, because I do have single friends, but like you just got to understand like that it's not part of your life. It's like, who do you want to spend more time with? Who should you expose yourself with? Who do you want to exchange energy with? Listen, love it or hate it, it's a reality. So I think that that's why you gotta audit your circle sometimes.
So I want to rewind a little bit though, because
Yeah.
when you were talking about your day, and I love the way that you kind of separated, or at least in an ideal world, between you seem to have like a maker portion of your
Yeah.
day in the beginning, and then you've got a manager portion in the
Yeah.
afternoon. And I think that's a pretty important separation, especially for someone who's looking to be a professional content
Mm.
creator. And for someone like yourself who, listen, has built a huge brands, right? 1.7 million followers on Instagram, and a podcast that has tens of millions of downloads. Like, what does that maker portion of your day look like? Is the phone off, or are you scripting your content? Like, what does that really kind of look like?
Um,
Dissect that for us.
so usually for the maker portion, and I think that's very important. I've never heard a phrase like that, but I like that. I like that delineation a lot. Maker versus manager. Because also what it reduces is context switching, right? You're not context switching from creative to leading or to
Mm-hmm.
managing or to delegating, right? I think that's very important. Um, so for the maker portion of my day, I will usually be prepping for podcasts. So prepping can be a variety of things. Usually it comes down to listening to somebody who I'm going to interview on another podcast and getting a sense for, because all the prep work, all the show notes, all the questions that I ask, all that stuff is now AI. So I take transcripts from past podcasts. I'll take their book. I'll put it into AI. I have a format and I have a question format, and it'll give me the like 4 or 5 different categories of things we can talk about with questions. And whether or not I stick to that, that's entirely dependent on how the conversation is going. But a lot of like the actual hard prep, just so that we know what we're talking about, and we know the different points, and we know some quotes and stories that we want to talk about. A lot of that prep work used to be manual, which is very time consuming. Now a lot of it can be done with AI. Um, in terms of how I like to prep outside of the actual doc or the questions that I put together, I like to listen to them, because I like to listen to how they speak, how they think. I like to listen to some of the stories that maybe they lean into because they're emotionally triggering or not, or maybe there's certain things they don't like to talk about, and I don't want to go there because that would make them feel uncomfortable. I like to listen to how they speak. So if, for example, some people ramble and they go on for forever, and I know that I'm going to have to stop them and bring them back to the main point that I was trying to get out of them. And some people are very short, and I'm going to have to pull information out of them. And some people speak, and then in the middle of a sentence they'll pause, and if you aren't aware, you'll think that they're done their sentence. However, they're just pausing to think, and 2 or 3 or 4 seconds later they'll continue that sentence. And if you aren't aware of how they speak, then
Yes.
you're gonna interrupt them. So this is the creative prep for the podcast for me. This is
Mm-hmm.
understanding who the guest is. Obviously, it's very important for me to do it if it's virtual, because it's very hard to build rapport virtual. In person, they'll come to the studio. This is also where I try and do most of my podcasts, although with travel schedules, it doesn't always work out perfectly. But they'll come to the studio, and I'll be able to get a sense of who they are ahead of time. But I'll still listen to a podcast that they've done, just one, or even 15 minutes of one. But I like to listen to a podcast that they've done while I'm going through emails, whatever. Um, and then I like to write. So I do really love to write. I find that writing helps me collect my ideas. It helps me improve my thinking. It helps me make sure that I actually understand a concept that I'm going to be talking about. Like writing is very important for me. I'm actually very concerned uh, that everybody is using ChatGPT and Claude and Perplexity to write, because I think that writing is one of the most useful thinking tools. If you can write and communicate properly, it shows how clear your thoughts are and how well you understand a concept. So I like to write. Usually, I'll write one main newsletter per week, and that'll be on a topic that either came up in the podcast or just came up in my life, or I saw a tweet about it and I wanted to expand on it, or sometimes what I do is, in terms of my writing process, just to see if an idea is going to be a hit, is I'll tweet out a whole bunch of short tweets, and then whichever idea gets the most traction, then I turn that into a newsletter, and I'll spend some time, 2-3 hours writing if possible. Sometimes I don't have that much free time, but it depends on my schedule. Or if a reel, for example, from the podcast, say a guest has a really prolific thought, turn that into a reel, and that reel outperforms, all the other reels that I post, then that would be a topic that I'm like, okay, this is a really interesting topic. For some reason, the audience loves this, so let me unpack this idea and turn it into a newsletter. That's just my writing process, but that will take place in the morning as well. Those are my two most important sort of creative pursuits: podcasting and writing. Outside of that, sometimes I'll write some tweets. But that's pretty much it in terms of my creative process and what I spend the morning on. Keep in mind, I'm putting out 2 to 3 podcasts per week, so I mean, like, this does
It's
keep
a
me
lot of
quite
prep time.
busy.
Yeah.
It is. It does keep me quite busy. I mean, like, people were saying, like, what else? Like, you write one newsletter and you do a pod. No, I mean, like, I'm doing like 2 to 3 a week, recording. Some weeks, I mean, some weeks we're recording more than that, just because of, again, if somebody's in town, you just record, meaning I
Sure.
just got to prep for it. So those are the majority of my mornings. Um, and that's really what I spend my time on, because that, I mean, that's the priority for me, mostly because that's how I make money.
Sure.
Uh, Outside of that, there's not much else. I mean, the rest of my day is filled with conversations with um, people that want to come on the show. It's filled with conversations with advertisers and helping close campaigns. I do have a team. I have people in post production. I have 5 people in post production. I have one sales guy. But at any point, like, I'm still pretty much in the weeds in most of the things that we do. Um, the team's very good, but I still like, for example, to help close deals. I still like to, if the team's putting together a trailer for the podcast, sometimes I'll recognize when I'm speaking to somebody uh, a really interesting line that they've said, and I'll want that line brought into the trailer, just because I know that that's going to elicit some sort of reaction with the audience. So that's more or less what I spend my time on day to day.
Yeah.
But
Very cool. Very
and
cool. I'm
then, the other
curious.
stuff is like, if I get asked to speak, that's fun, but that's super time consuming, and that's not part of the day in the life. And I'm trying to write a book, which is
So
big.
that would also fall in that maker time.
Yeah, that would
It
fall in the
sounds
maker
like.
time, but that's still very new. That's still very new. And that will consume more of the maker time, I have no doubt, as
Without a
it
doubt.
progresses. But that is going to be that's going to be like the 2025, 2026,
Cool, man.
commitment and mission and project. And it's a lot of work, but
I'm
it's,
curious,
yeah.
with all the stuff that you're taking on, do you ever just kind of wake up and feel a little bit of resistance to the work? Maybe it's laziness or procrastination or just a I don't want to do it today attitude. And if you do ever feel that, is there something that you lean into? Maybe it's your why. Maybe it's an internal affirmation. How do you defeat that resistance if it pops
Yeah,
up?
it does pop up for sure. Um, I am an absolute workhorse. Uh, for me, my beliefs on what it takes to be successful, I believe them with so much certainty and absoluteness that when I don't feel like doing something, I do it anyways. Like, I don't even know how else to describe it. I mean, there are days when I think that there's a few things. So let me unpack what I just said. So I just mentioned my beliefs about what it takes to be successful are so absolute. What that means to me and what I believe to be true is that anybody can be successful at anything. Nobody is that special. Anything that's been done before can be done by myself if I wanted to do it. Like, I have a lot of self belief, an exceptional amount of self belief, almost delusional, which I actually do believe is important. But um, why that's important is because if I believe that I can do anything and I actually want to do it, then all the only thing that's stopping me is education and time. And I can solve for education, and time is just staying in the game long enough. This is another Hermosi idea, but this is another Buffett idea. This is something that we spoke about at the beginning. It's like, how do you stay in the game long enough so that it's that winning is the only possible outcome? I've spoken about like my personal 10-year rule. If I'm going to do anything, I got to stick with it for a long enough period of time. 10 years is sort of like my barometer of what it takes to build anything meaningful. Not
Sure.
through just doing like the repeat actions that don't work, but staying in the game long enough, learning, iterating, improving. So when you first have that mindset, okay, you understand I got to stick with it. The second thing you got to do is fuck motivation. I hate motivation. Motivation doesn't do shit for me. Systems and processes and accountability. So you just asked what happens when you wake up and you don't feel like doing anything. Well, when I wake up, there are no decisions that day that are not pre-planned, and including other people. So unless I want to let down other people, let down my team, let down some famous person I'm bringing on the podcast, unless I want to let all those people down and kind of just feel like an asshole, like, it's already on my calendar. Like, I'm making it so it's very hard for me to not do the thing, even if I don't feel like doing it. It's there. It's on the calendar. Like, I've blocked time aside for it. There's no conflict. This is how I make my money. This is how I make my livelihood. This is what I signed up for. This is what I want to do. This is what I said I can do. And I believe with absolute certainty I can build one of the biggest business, entrepreneurship, personal development podcasts in the world. And this is what it takes. This is what it takes. It's just daily reps. So if it's on my calendar, there's sort of two options. I can either lie to that guest or lie to my team about why I can't show up. And like, there's a whole bunch of shit that would fuck with me. That would mess with me if I was lying. First of all, besides the fact that I may not get a shot to chat with this person ever again, or if I don't sync with my team on this one thing, or if I don't write this newsletter, like, I know that it's not going to be the end of the world, but I just make it so that it's easier to do it than to not do it. And yeah, there are days when I don't feel like doing it, for sure, like everyone. But if you create accountability and systems that sort of force you into doing something, I don't know. It just I've always defaulted to doing it. I've just always over my entire life defaulted to doing it. Um, so much so that, like, even if it's late and my day's gone to shit because of fires that I've had to put out, or meetings that I've had to jump on that I didn't want to jump on. Say, for example, I have to, put out a newsletter. I will send a newsletter. I will write, finish, and send a newsletter, or schedule for the next morning. I'll write it at like 1 or 2 in the morning if I have to write it. Like, to me, falling off the bandwagon is just not an option. I don't know. It's just been, and I think the reason why I'm so regimented and so okay with just doing the thing is because that's always been my competitive advantage. So my competitive advantage has always been outworking everyone in the gym, when I played sports, when I was trying to start my career. And I know that you can't outwork people to, even $100 million. I know it's not possible, but I think that you have to outwork people till you can hire people so that now you can leverage and you can scale and you can grow. But when you're starting something small, and I mean, the podcast it's a good sized podcast, but the team is small. I mean, podcast revenue is not like business revenue, for example. If I had a business that was, 6, 7 years old, it would be making more money than the podcast. Now, the podcast has a limited upside and can be used to launch other things and still does make good money. But um, it's still like a small business by any objective sense, right? It's not like a huge, enormous enterprise. So there's still a lot of like put in the work and get it done kind of mentality. And I think that as soon as you can, you hire, you delegate. Like I told you, I have 6 people that work for me. You hire, you delegate. But listen, the founder putting 100% of themselves in and doing the work when no one else feels like doing it, especially when the product is kind of you. At the end of the day, it's you, it's your thoughts, it's your name. I don't know. I think that's what can truly be a competitive advantage, and so far that's been true, and I think that I probably could work less, but I enjoy what I do too, so I don't really find it that difficult. I think that's also another, you know, um, hack, if you want to call it that. Like if you actually enjoy what you do, it's like,
Sure. Find the right
yeah,
boat. Find the right boat.
exactly. I hope that answers your
Scott,
question. It's tough,
it,
dude. It's a tough, it's a tough thing for people to wrap their head around. But I hope that they understand that, like when they're in alignment and they're truly pursuing their own North Star, the decision as to do the thing or to not, um, I don't think you're going to run into that as much as you think you will, even when it gets hard.
Scott, thanks for being with us today, man. This was a lot of
My
fun.
pleasure, dude. My
Hell yeah.
pleasure, dude.
Where can everyone keep up with what you got going on these days?
All the socials at Scott D. Clary. Podcast is Success Story Podcast. You can get that anywhere you get your podcasts. We also have a good YouTube channel, but we do a lot of this stuff too. So if you like this show, go check it out.
There it is. There it is. Scott, thank you. And Persistence Playbook Nation, thank you for being here. This is your weekly reminder that you will feel resistance to the important work in your life this week. In those moments, lean into your why, take action anyway, and we'll catch you on the next one.